Hey, just drop that. Forget it. You need to forget to heal. Oh, no, 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 that doesn't work. That way either. The first thing I want to emphasize is that in this series of videos where we've been working on a number of myths or phrases that the people around us tend to say are built from people's inability to accompany very complex emotional processes. I insist that grief is, without a doubt, one of the most intense and complex events, especially when the loss is significant and when we don't have the necessary tools to deal with it. It's one of the most intense experiences a human being can go through and experience. And if it's complex for the person going through it, it's also complex for the one supporting them. Supporting from incapacity is challenging. Absolute incapacity, from complete ignorance about how to approach these emotional spaces, which can be difficult to handle even for many professionals. So, these phrases that get repeated so much, they turn into myths, they become truths. Well, its fundamental origin is rooted. First, there's the intention to stop seeing our loved one suffer who is hurting from the absence of the person they love. And in that eagerness to say something to contribute to their healing, some impulses come up. Some phrases that don't make sense but are meant to help. But ultimately, out of ignorance, end up causing harm, right? From all sides, due to lack of understanding from both the supporter and the receiver. Neither. Either. They also don't know how to receive it, and they don't understand the context. Well, one of those very common phrases is that one, right? That after someone sees another person sad for a long time, they end up telling them no. Look, please, you have to forget in order to heal. Forget what happened in order to heal. And it turns out that this phrase often leads to a misunderstanding about the grieving process. That's why many people who are grieving find it hard to clearly express what they want, what they should do, and what they need to start their grieving process. So, because, of course, if I have to forget in order to heal, well, I don't want to forget my loved one. So, I don't grieve because I don't want to forget him. And I've been told this many times with that clarity. I don't grieve because I don't want to forget my loved one. Grieving is the total opposite. Grieving is the process we choose to go through in order to remember, without that memory causing us pain. Of course, at first it hurts because the impact has happened. There's a very strong impact that our body feels, and it doesn't understand why life acts that way. Why do the people we love die? The big question of human existence. The reality that we are faced with. So, when we receive that impact, well, there's pain. And we think that the idea is to run away from that pain. It turns out that pain has a very important function. And that is to say, look, there's something that happened here that you need to pay attention to, something you need to dedicate time and space to. So telling someone to forget is also preventing them from starting to make the necessary decisions so that they can not only remember their loved one. Also with joy, not only can they remember their loved one without pain, but they can also rebuild their sense of life, move forward, and find the rainbow of other emotions that accompany our existence. It's like if when had a very deep wound in my arm. Let's say, I cut myself with a knife and the wound is very deep. Thanks. Why does it hurt? Because the body is saying, hey, buddy, something important happened here. It turns out you need to pay attention to it. And you need to make decisions. Very specific actions to start the healing process and prevent that wound from getting infected. That still hurts, but as we make decisions to address our wound, that's when, over time. But, above all, it's about our decisions. In other words, our decisions are the ones that get the wheel turning. That's when time starts to work, and then the wound begins to heal. And as we move forward and heal it, and pay attention to it, and clean it daily, and we take the necessary medications, and we get professional help, if the wound requires it, well, the wound starts to heal, it stops hurting, and a scar remains. And that scar often reminds us, let's say, a tough moment from which we learned. We can even joke about that scar we have. And to remember countless things. For the Japanese, these scars, for many cultures, these scars are nothing more than the opportunity life gives us to remember and learn from it. So, look, the wound happened and healed because we paid attention to it. If what I do is forget that I have a wound, then the pain stays. 5. Because just because I think I don't have the wound doesn't mean I don't have it. The pain is real. Forgetting to heal isn't the answer. If I forget, the wound gets infected and hurts more because it's still there. If I forget, what happens is that the wound starts to get infected, and then it's going to hurt even more because it's still there. That is exactly the same effect that is intended to be produced when we say that you must forget in order to heal. No, we can't forget to heal. We have to constantly remember that the wound is there. That hurts, to pay attention to it, to make the decisions we need to make, that are necessary. And in this way, we can start the healing process. So today, I invite you in today's myth to remember that we shouldn't forget. To heal, it's quite the opposite. We must remember that this wound is present. We must remember that the absence and the pain caused by the absence of our loved one requires time. From a space in our life, from certain decisions so that this wound can heal. And then, when the healing process arrives, we can begin to remember our loved one as they deserve, with the many pleasant moments they left us. Because we then understand that love doesn't get lost with death. Love doesn't disappear with death. It transforms, it takes root, it becomes anchored in our soul, in our heart. The bonds of love remain more alive than ever. Because that doesn't end with the physical absence of our loved one, because they are still present. But to get there, we have to dedicate time and space to work on it. Facing our pain, facing our sadness so we can remember them through other emotional options. It doesn't mean that maybe later on we won't have moments of nostalgia or moments of sadness over the absence. But there are also going to be moments of joy, moments of gratitude, moments of satisfaction. That's what grief is about. Not forgetting to heal, but remembering so we can start to work through it. That memory with joy, just as our loved one deserves to be remembered.